by this group of men to come back.
USA on one. USA!
Third gold in a row. Rio, Tokyo, and now Paris.
Coming to you from the Olympic City, Colorado Springs, Colorado, this is the USA Volleyball Show. And here are your hosts, Steven Munson and Sevrin Lavenstein.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the USA Volleyball Show, the official podcast of USA Volleyball. And if you might have noticed, this is another on-location episode, and we are so thrilled to have head coach of the UCLA men's volleyball program, John Hawks, joining us here. John, thank you so much for giving us some of your time today.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. This is great.
So we're going to talk all things about UCLA men's volleyball, but we're also going to talk about John's amazing involvement with our NTDP team, including some fantastic finishes this past summer. So that's going to be one of our focuses. And we're going to talk a little bit about his personal journey as well. So all things John Hawks coming up. And we're going to start, John, with just looking forward first before we look backwards to this upcoming UCLA men's volleyball season. It's almost time. I know for you, you're already doing training and everything that we're going to, see the fruits of that labor coming up this season. But to start with, what does the team look like this season?
Well, I think first and foremost, we have just tremendous leadership within the team. So Andrew Rowan, Zach Rama, Cam Thorne, Sean Kelly, those guys are just studs. And I think just that starts with that group. And then they're obviously leading our open gyms. They're leading in the weight room. They're leading off the court. And they're doing so many great things. So just, I think starting with that is the most important thing. And then how we're coming together, how we're training. We have a new staff, with Alex Knight in Milan on staff, and that's been great. So just adjusting to new voices in the gym, and all the guys have been working very, very hard. And it started off fantastic.
Maybe for some aspiring coaches watching, or for some that are working at different levels, how are you structuring practices right now at this point to try and ramp up for the season?
Yeah, that's a good question. We just started our 20-hour block today. So we're slowing some things down. Like in the fall, we have such a limited time with the group that we are focusing on systems right now. So we're trying to implement systems. And I think today what we did, we slowed it down. We dialed in on some option blocking schemes. We talk about our offensive systems. So we're doing a lot of skill-based work in the first part of practice, and then we're morphing into our 6-on-6 and how do we combine our offensive and defensive systems, and connections with the setters, and timing on routes, and how we're running the BIC, and some different options offensively. So there's a lot of little tiny things we're trying to do, but it's an organized chaos. Let's make it sound like that.
You have a couple newcomers this year from some NTDP teams that we've gotten to see in our gyms. I believe the ones that I have are Merrick Turner, Grayson Bradford, and Rafa Rubina, and then obviously some more newcomers as well for your squad this year. I'm assuming they'll add a lot to this kind of season, and just being able to help those new guys come along and help that team.
Yeah, I think with Rafa being with the U19 group this summer really helped him. With regards to having Merrick and Grayson in the gym with us with U21, those guys grew a lot. They got a lot stronger. They're just more confident. They learned some systems a little bit earlier than maybe a typical freshman would. But those guys work so hard, and some of the things they learned this summer with USA and NTB was, it's valuable for us. So. Rafa is terrific, and again, it's been fun. So having them a part of the USA program in the summer has been great for us.
When you're in that NTDP setting, when a player is in that NTDP setting, how similar are the systems of what they're learning there to the college game? Are they learning a lot of the same things? Are you switching some things up? What is similar and different about the systems you teach in our gym?
Yeah, they're very similar, and I think that in a short training block you have with USA Volleyball, you have to sometimes dummy some things down and some systems that you won't necessarily get in quite as in depth in with your college team. But with me running the U21 and then having those guys here at UCLA, we're running very much the same system. So I think from that standpoint, they're almost apples and apples. Yeah.
So I have to ask the question: is there a little bit more of a focus for redemption factor going up on this season, obviously with the results of last year in mind and getting all the way to the top of the mountain and falling just short. But is that extra motivation for this season to finish off strong?
Of course, but I think it's when you come to UCLA, you're coming here to win titles. And, when you fall short, it's just, okay, it makes you kind of examine a couple things and narrow in on a couple things that you didn't necessarily do or have time to do and be better in certain parts of the game and phases of the game. So I feel like for us, that motivation is always there.
What was the aftermath like? Was it a lot of sitting and thinking about things from that match, from the Columbus experience? Was it immediately back to work in terms of scouting and preparation for, bringing in your athletes for this year? What was the aftermath of that like, and how has that transitioned into the start of this year?
Yeah, I think you do a lot of reflecting as a coach. If you're not doing that, then I think you're missing something. But yeah, I spent a lot of time reflecting on it and trying to improve. And for me, I was also trying to hire 2 coaches. So there was it was distracting, and I think probably a good distraction, right? Because I wasn't focused on the loss. But yeah, and I was also thinking about, okay, I've got this USA group and how am I going to prepare them? So for me, I had a lot of things going on outside of my family too, right? So it was nice to kind of sit back and think about how that season ended, why it ended the way it did, and we had opportunities in the second set to take a set off them, and they have probably the most impactful player that I've ever coached against in my 20-some years. So, yeah, I'm glad he's gone, and but certainly looking forward to coming out and showing the public what UCLA men's volleyball is about again.
I think you speak for a lot of coaches there, but I think also it was such a great year last year to just see such talent in the NCAA men's space. Your team being part of that, a big part of that, but just it was such a great product last year, just as a neutral observer and seeing just all the talent that we had from top to bottom on basically every team that was competing. It was amazing, and I think anybody should be looking forward to seeing what kind of talent is going to emerge this year. To go back to last year one more time, I'm pretty sure you're too humble to acknowledge it, but whether you do or not, there was a lot of pressure last year taking over for John Speraw and it being your first season at the helm. This year, does it feel different? Are there different ways that it just is coming more naturally maybe to you this year? What are the changes, and how does it feel maybe from that pressure point here?
That's a really good question. And yes, there's always pressure here at UCLA, but when you're following such just a legendary coach in really Al Skates and John Speraw, the shoes are massive, and and then taking over midway through the fall was tough too, and how it all went down was saying goodbye to my loyal guys on Zoom, and it wasn't smooth. And I'm glad to be in a situation now where we've been here from day one, and I'm looking forward to it. I don't feel pressure. Last year I felt stressed a lot of times, and it wasn't necessarily the volleyball or any of that. It was just a lot of external things that are happening. My family was still in Chicago and hadn't moved out, so I was 6 months without them, and we'd lost 3 guys lost homes in the fires, so that was stressful. Brandon telling me that he's going to go with the women's team in January, so kind of knowing that was going to happen throughout the entire year, and then really just like trying to defend 2 titles and try to win a 3rd one in a row. Like, yes, they all piled on top of each other, and it wasn't one thing in particular. It was just a bunch of things. And I love these guys, and I'm just so thankful to be here, and the opportunity to be at UCLA just is a dream come true.
I'm really happy that you mentioned the personal part of that, because like you mentioned at the end, it's, oh, by the way, I got to defend 2 titles here. I mean, but the whole movement in the NCAA system, that's a part of it. And you have to deal with all of the personal stuff. And everybody's like, yeah, we don't care. Go defend your title,
Yeah.
And I think that's such a great part to hear and acknowledge, because that human side just, I feel like sometimes isn't always acknowledged, whether it's these football coaches getting bought out for millions of dollars or whether it's just your standard, hey, this is the next chapter of my career. So thank you for touching on that, because I'm sure it's not easy for you. It's not easy for anybody who has to move on to the next part of their journey and make it happen so quickly and get right into your job.
Yeah, it's the reality of just collegiate sports. But yes, when you're trying to, find a home in California and then sell your home in Chicago at the same time while you're trying to win matches, it was daunting.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Well, John, let's shift gears and talk about the NTDP experience. You've been such an amazing asset for our NTDP teams, and we're going to get into just all the success you've had there and some of the individual teams that you've been able to coach. But let's start at the beginning. How did you first get involved with the USAV NTDP program / high performance program? I'm sure it was at that point, but please give us the origin story.
Well, it dates back to 2007. I was coaching. I just wrapped up coaching in Irvine, or maybe it was the summer, right at the end of the season, and Andy Reid was coaching the junior national team at U21 Sen 2, and there was a coach that couldn't go because of some family emergency or something happened, and I'd been doing tryouts for a bunch of years and just kind of like paying my dues and doing that thing. And Andy asked me to join them to World Championships. So my first trip with USA Volleyball was the World Championships, and that was with Max Holt and Matt Anderson and Kavika Shoji's, some well-known names, right, in USA Volleyball. But Spencer McLaughlin was on the team, and Matt Worley, who's a former coach on the men's side. But just a really fun group of guys to coach. And I got back from that, and then I was home for a day, and then went right with Alan Knipe to the World University Games in Bangkok, Thailand. So it was a summer where I spent, I think I calculated 33,000 miles in the air. And it was one night at home, and, I grinded that summer. And that was the beginning of it. And I think we took 7th in the world at that time, and that just started my love for wanting to do this and give back to these guys.
I'm willing to bet your frequent flyer miles are unmatched, especially from back then and then all the way till now. I'm willing to bet not many people are racking up the numbers that you're racking up there.
It's not as many now, but yeah, it was a lot. For sure.
You mentioned the talent on that team, but I want to fast forward to 2019 with the men's national team silver at the Norsega Championship, where you coached guys like DeFalco, Gendrick, D'Agostino, Ensing, Ma'a. I'm sure others I could go on, but did you know, let's go with the 2017, but then also the 2019 as well, you're around that kind of talent. Do you know right then and there, these are Olympians and I am coaching this wave that is going to be such an impactful part of the men's sport?
You have a pretty good idea. I think the Van Andersons are just rare physical talents, right? And then you've got the mental side of it too that goes along with it. So to kind of see how those guys train, you start to pick up on pretty quickly that, hey, this guy's got it. And yeah, so you do notice it. And then you see it like 2011 with Taylor Sander and Taylor Crabb and Micah Christensen, just your conversations with those guys in the gym and playing, like Brad Keller and I would play cornhole versus Taylor Crabb and Taylor Sander. And if we played 100 times, it was probably 50-50. I mean, it was just, you could see the competitiveness in those guys. And it's good team bonding for us and staff bonding with the players, but it just is, you can see how these guys compete and what kind of makes them tick a little bit. So yeah, you pick up on little things about these guys, and we just only named a few, but there's several of them that you just look at and go, okay, you know what, that guy's got it.
Is that the first thing that you look for, is competitive factor when you're kind of sifting through, okay, who's kind of got it?
That's definitely part of it, yeah. Because it's you look at guys like Ethan Champlin, just they don't have necessarily the physical height, but he's got an arm, he can pass, he competes, he plays the whole game, he can lead. So yeah, you want kind of all those, if there's 6 of them, 6 tools, you want all of them. And competitiveness is just such a big part of it. And it's, we're in this home where John Wooden was, and competitive greatness is one of the key stones on the pyramid.
To look at another year, the 2024 Norsega U21 team, which you were the coach of, many athletes were part of the 2023 U19 team, and then 4th at Worlds, the highest finish ever. Just leading into 2024, Did you know that was a special group?
Absolutely. I think them at U19, they had a lot of holes, and France took it to them. And for us, I remember the first day I met with those guys, I brought up that match, and I watched that match, and it was embarrassing, and that's not what USA Volleyball's about. But we, with Matt Pollock and Donan Cruz, with Donovan and Chris and Kevin and the whole crew, we spent a lot of time analyzing what those holes were for that team that we needed to fill. And we hit a home run with every single one of those guys on both years, the World Championships and the Norseki year, just with getting the right guy at the right time that has national team potential, but also can help us win now, right? And I think that's also important, right? So especially in that qualification year, you have to get to Worlds, before you can really go achieve a medal. But we spent a lot of time figuring that one out. And just two of the best years with this group that I've had coaching. It was fun.
Can we go deeper and sort of expand on how the process of building out a team goes? Is it as simple as, okay, start with let's find our setter, and then we'll build around that? Is it, okay, I know this is going to be a group that I can carry over from a U19 to a U21 the next year? As much as you can share, what goes into kind of constructing that roster?
Yeah. I think you start with, okay, what's your end in mind, right? Like, what do I think the starting lineup is going to look like at World Championships in 2 years? And you can plug in some of the names that we're very familiar with, but you also, I think what we did and what I take a lot of pride in is, I don't have my UCLA hat on at all during these moments. So it's like when we sit down as a group, and Matt would say the same thing about Pepperdine, or Donan when he was at Ball State. It's about us trying to figure out who has the most highest potential for the next level, right? And then making a full list of every setter that's age eligible, every middle that's age eligible, every outside, every opposite, every libero, and really not going into this having this preconceived idea that this is going to be our group. So we said, okay, here's our list of 60 guys, we'll say, and then talking about each one of those guys and the value that person brings to us as a group, whether that's our 21 that we're going to train with or our 12 that we're going to go compete with. So coming up with our ideal 21 guys that we went and trained with was a process that took months. And anybody that wasn't invited, honestly, we considered every single person. Even thought, how do we think about bringing maybe a U19 guy up, that if we're missing something? We didn't, but we talked about every scenario possible.
So you've assembled the team. What do you want to see? Is it as simple as Monday, this, Friday, the finished product?
Okay, so we've got our training group. The idea for me by going to Colorado Springs was for us to get away from Southern California, where 75% of our roster from here. I wanted less distractions. I wanted to be together for that short time that we could. And for us, it was just about that bonding experience of being, staying in the dorms together, eating together for every meal, training together twice a day, lifting, and doing all those things that are really impactful in that team environment where you're going to compete. But we talked about leadership. We talked about system development. And for some of these guys, they come from a lot of different programs. So it's in that short period, we're trying to stay fresh and healthy. That's a big part of it. But we're also trying to implement systems and really throw everything at them in those first few days. So for us, it's about lots of video, lots of talking one-on-one, lots of training, lots of conversations with the staff and each player and different position groups. But we're just trying to put a system together as fast as we can. So those first few days are about the skills were already there, right? So now it's about taking all those skills and making them one and thinking, okay, we're not going to beat anybody individually. We're going to beat guys together. And I think every single day we remind them about France. just so that it was in the back of their heads, like, hey, you're not as good as you think you are. France is way better. These guys are working hard. Poland, Czech, you name it, those guys are good. And so for us, it's about really just system development, I think, as we train.
How much crossover or talk do you have, or have you had, with another one of our longstanding coaches, Charlie Sullivan, and his groups and what he's working on?
Yeah, I've talked to Charlie a little bit. I don't think that I've watched them play and I watched them compete, so I don't necessarily have like the curiosity about what they're doing and talking about. It's more like, hey, tell me about this guy and what'd you learn training them. And then for me, I think as a staff, just talking to Dona and Matt, we must have talked. At some points, we were talking daily, and those two now, I mean, after 2 years of working together, are two of my better friends, and I respect the heck out of those guys. So I lean on Karch, I lean on Speraw, I lean on guys that I know are really good in their craft, and Charlie certainly was a part of that development with these guys. So we have a lot of conversations with those guys.
So to this year, the Pan Am Cup gold, the world bronze, one of the most successful groups in program history. How did the athletes progress from 2024 to 2025 for those squads?
Got a lot more physical. Cole Hartke had a year. I'm going to name Cole, but like Sean Kelly put on a bunch of weight and got stronger and was jumping higher. So like from that first year to the second year, you just see a bunch of guys that made really impactful. They were impactful for their collegiate teams. So having that experience, Sterling Foley played his entire year for his team. Sean Kelly played a good majority of our season. Cole Hartke played the majority of his. Trent Rosenthal had 2 years of college under his belt. Just so the weight training, the confidence of those guys, when they look at across the net, they go, okay, you know what? I'm not going to be outmatched physically. And then mentally, just a lot of those guys were in the gym with the U.S. guys on VNL rosters or Pan Am Cup rosters. So our guys had a lot of experience. And that was, I think, just how we selected this group. We had a lot of really high potential guys. And I think we just selected the right guys, to be honest with you.
At the beginning of the process, how likely did you think it was that a medal was in the future? For Worlds.
Truthfully,
talking about Worlds.
I thought we could win it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, like, that never, ever was in question for me. So I remember having a talk when Karch got the job. I got probably an hour and a half on the phone with him. And we went through every single guy. And I kept telling him, I said, look, man, I go, if you invest in any group, this is a group to invest in. And I was making that call long ago. And this group is special. And there's going to be a bunch of Olympians that come out of this U21 group.
So you hear that, everybody? Pay attention to this group. You're going to see them a lot more in the future. I think it was obvious to everybody when we were watching that team that could be the case. Give us a little bit more on the X's and O's side. What was working so well for that squad? What did you notice when you got into competition that was really starting to become a strong point of the team?
Well, I mean, there's so many things, and I think the first thing you look at in that second year is Trent Rosenthal and the speed of our offense. So at Hawaii, this first year, he didn't run the fastest offense. It was a pretty much high ball offense, it seemed like, from the outside. And we really tried to speed him up in that first summer, going from Norseka. And then seeing his progressions that he's made after his sophomore year of college and just how fast he was going, I knew that, okay, now we got the weapons on the pins. We had Cole Hartke, Sean Kelly, Sterling Foley, Sebasani, who wasn't with us at the Norsekas because he was in Europe. And then Riggs guy was in addition to our team. And I think to some people, Riggs was a surprise that we took him. Riggs was a stud. So for the group, when you think about your 12 guys, we just had so much confidence in that group, and we had a bunch of 7-footers, and Jackson Christ, who's a middle that I think the first summer it was Jackson was the last guy we took on the team, and he ended up being best blocker at the North Second game. So for me, just seeing, and we talk about that competitiveness, Jackson's just got that it factor when it comes to that. Ball finds his hands and he's up on zero tempo and he runs some different routes that are just, he's available. And then you add Cole Harkey's development. You watch a lot. So I don't know. I felt so good about this group. And, we didn't get Parker Tompkinson at the World Championships, and he certainly would have helped. But Trey Jordan and Micah Goss and Jackson did such a good job of the middle for us.
You get Parker, you have like an all 7-footer lineup there, honestly.
We were definitely the biggest team at Worlds, and a lot of opposing coaches and delegations noticed it right when we walked in the gym. And it was but I think that's my job, is to get the best guys and then train them the best I know how. And it's not just volleyball X's and O's, and I think you mentioned that, but it's also about like, how do you train and how do you act like a professional and how do you treat each other, and there's so many other things that are going to carry these guys so much further than just hit a ball hard, right? How do you get on a team and how do you stay on a team? And that was a big focus of ours. Yeah.
Just a quick tangent, just listening to you talk about the middle play. Do you have a favorite position group that you like to coach, where it's just you get to see that progression? You're like, oh, that's really cool when this happens, or when you get to see the development of a player at a certain position?
I don't have a favorite, but obviously watching guys like Jackson and Trey Jordan, who didn't go, I cut him the year before, and then he makes this roster. And I think I want to kind of maybe go, I'm going to kind of sidebar a little bit, but there's something that happens in the room when you have 21 guys and you're trying to cut down to 12. I have the misfortune of taking a dream away from a guy that gets to go compete with the USA jersey. But also on the other end of it, I have the like, when I told Cole Harkey he made it, I don't want to embarrass him, but he started tearing up. It meant that much to him. And then you see Rowan Alvear, and Rowan made it the first year and then didn't make it the next year. And Kellen Larson, they just kind of flipped each other. But watching guys get, Tread Rosenthal's relieved to make it. And to me, Tread was a no-brainer. But even Sean Kelly, they're humble. And this group, to see guys care so much about making a roster and helping their country and being with each other. And these guys have such a tight bond that, you bring in a Riggs and you bring in a Sebasani again, you bring in Trey Jordan. They don't miss a beat, because that core nucleus of guys that we have, that leadership group, just takes those guys in, and it's that iron sharpens iron. They're just getting better fast. So I expect big things from every single guy that was with us at U21, just because of the group they were surrounded with this summer. It was awesome.
It's one of my favorite things to ask the athletes, just that very simple question of, what does it mean to you to put on that USA jersey? And you get some of the best answers for that, and you can really tell just how much they care and how much it means to them. I think it's one of the coolest things every year to see.
It is so cool, man. And I wish I videotaped those, but again, it's like, I'm glad that not everyone gets to see what I see, because it's just such it's so cool. And, I had a moment where I cut one of the players, and probably my first time in 20, I was crying with him. It was just, it hurt me that much. And that was, it's beautiful at the same time. You're hugging the guy and he's crying and you're crying. I'm just like, dude, I'm sorry, but hey, I'm going with this, and I hope you. And they're like, thank you for the opportunity. And they don't, there isn't any bitterness, or the guys aren't angry. They're disappointed, but it's going to fuel them for that next step. And I think failure for a lot of these guys, and you saw Cole Harkey cut 3 times, and Trey Jordan's been cut a bunch, and Riggs guy has never made a roster until this one. And I think all that failure and adversity has really helped these guys be where they are today. Yeah.
Definitely. Let's go to the quarterfinal to a team that we've mentioned a bunch, France. The rematch from the 0-3 loss at U19s. Walk me through this match, the 3-2 win, what you remember, everything you can about that match, if we can relive it to the best of our ability here.
Oh, man. I think going back, I think there's so many more, there's so many impactful things that happened to us leading up to that. And, so I'm going to, I want to talk about that, but I think it's more important that we go back to, we had 21 guys, and I sent 5 guys from that group that I knew I was going to take to China. So they were out of the tryout process, I guess. But I was going to the Norseka game in Calgary. And I wanted to make sure, guys like Trent Telefero and Riggs Guy and Sebasani and Trey Jordan and Micah Goss, some guys that hadn't necessarily played USA Volleyball a ton, I wanted to get them a tournament together. So we got the 5 really more core nucleus guys that we had away from it. So now Trent got to run a tournament. And then you had Kellen and Johnny were our 2 liberos. So we got to see them battle it out a little bit. And watch Micah Goss just soar. I mean, he was amazing in that, served really well. And then Riggs Guy was the best attacker in the tournament. And nobody would have ever predicted that going into it. So watch guys rise to the occasion. So we had a group that beat a good Canadian team that had their roster from Worlds. Those were 2 big wins for us. So it really started there, and then we carried that into the World Championship. So I selected a group from that Norseka, cut a few guys, and then we took the round. We rounded them out with the guys that we had. So we had 2 really big wins, and Egypt was one of them, and maybe Turkey, I think. We had 2 wins where I played those guys. We called them the Calgary group. And that group, our starting group had so much confidence in that group. So that when we were 2-0 in pool, and we threw that group in, hey, this is our 3rd match, let's go. And our whole the starting guys, Tread, Sean, all those guys were fired up for our Pan Am group to go. And it was just so our team, our 12, was so tight. And then we play France, and we just knew that we had more talent than them. They had some key guys that were with the VNL roster, but we weren't going to be denied that one. And we came out and played really well. And it was fun, and each set was tight. And it was, I wish I had the scores and all that in front of me, because I remember more, but just to watch the group overcome really kind of a monkey on their back a little bit from that we'd been talking about for 2 years, and then beating them was really cool. And that 5th set, I mean, I think we went up early in the first set, and then we just took it to them. We kept passing the ball well, and we were in system, and we were blocking balls, and I think we had a couple really big stuff blocks in the 5th set that for side outs, and that would have. So that was tough, and it was the celebration in the locker room was cool.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah,
we've touched on it a little bit, but just for some of our listeners who maybe aren't familiar with the history, can you expand on just the significance of that historic U21 medal for those who just aren't familiar with the history of those teams?
Yeah, the U.S. for some reason or another just hasn't done well at these World Championship events, and the group I had in 2011, we went to Brazil, and we lost to Milan Zarkovic's Serbian team for the bronze medal. And at that time, the 4th place was the highest finish we've ever had. And I felt at that time we probably could have medaled. There were some things that I did as a younger coach that, in hindsight, we played Russia going back a little bit, but we played Russia. Both teams were advancing. This is our last match in pool play. Both teams were advancing into the gold medal round, and all that mattered was seeding. So it really didn't matter who won the match or who lost, right, against that Russia team. And I remember having a plan. Going in. I go, okay, I'm going to start my starters for 1 set against Russia, just to see how they match up, what we do, and then I'll pull them out, and then we'll prepare for our next opponent. And I remember a conversation with Taylor Crabb. We beat Russia in the first set 25-15, beat them pretty good. We were stuffing everything. So game plan, everything's just firing. It was easy. And when you win like that and you're in system and you're doing all those things, you want it to feel easy, right? Taylor goes, he knew the plan. I go, you know the plan? I'm setting you out now. And he's like, no, let's beat him. Let's go. We got the next one. So I go, and Taylor was our captain. I go, okay. So I listened to the captain. I go, okay. We beat him 25-15 again. And I'm like, he goes, keep us in. Let's go. Let's finish this like that. And we would have played Serbia in the semifinal. And if we lost, we played Argentina. That's what ended up happening. And I didn't really care necessarily. They were both really good teams. We ended up losing a deuce set in the third, go to the fourth, lose a deuce set in the fourth, go to the fifth, and lose 16-14 in the fifth. So I was proud of the guys for battling, but our legs were shot, and it was a tough thing and lesson learned on my part. So I think I should have listened to my gut, but that group was close, and Russia ended up winning that year, and but we were right there with them. It's fun to compete. But so going back to that historic, I guess, finish, I think the for some reason or other, I think just these teams in Europe have had so much more experience than us at a younger age, and then we just catch up with our systems and we catch up physically at some point. And that's why you see success we have with the USA senior team.
So many jumping off points from that. The first one I want to go to is, do you still keep in touch with some of those guys like Taylor? See him out on the beach at all? Talk about that team at all?
Yeah, it's funny. I just saw Taylor and Trevor playing the FIV event down in Newport and gave him a big hug and they had a big win. So yeah, I mean, I don't talk to all those guys all the time, but when I go into the USA gym and see Matt Anderson and Max Holt and stuff, there's always a good hug and a good memory from 2007 or whatever. I coached a lot of those guys on a bunch of different teams. So, but the World Championship events has been, they're so much fun for these guys, and the travel's cool and it's fun to be in a different country. So.
Part of the lapse in my memory from thinking you guys were in Anaheim is because we get so many of the teams that come through, but I always find it interesting. I think it was the U19 team this year where I asked the guys, I was like, what kind of stuff are you doing, off the court that's building that camaraderie? And the one for this year was, we're playing a lot of Among Us. And that was the thing where you just hear kind of fun little stories about that. Another one was like that one group would go to this one coffee shop whenever they had free time and just be able to kind of chill out and not even focus on what's going on. When you are the coach and you're looking at these teams, how do you know when the gel point happens? And are you kind of trying to foster those environments of camaraderie away from the volleyball court? And I know that's kind of a broad question, but just do you see little things like that where you're like, okay, this team is gelling now, they're a unit?
Yeah, you see it. It happens at different points throughout. But I think one of the things that for me is really important is that our staff is really tight. So when I coach these groups, I do everything with these staff. So we're like going to dinners constantly. We're always talking. We're always hanging out. And when this team sees us super tight like that, then it just is natural for those guys to start doing it too. And they all like each other. And there's frustrating moments throughout training, right? And they're all trying to beat each other to win a starting job or win a roster spot. So there's a lot of competitiveness, but there's also a lot of humility. There's a lot of camaraderie. There's guys that just root for each other. So when they hear their teammate made it and they know that might affect their roster spot, they're still giving these guys hugs and high fives and congrats. And it's I think it's just this bond that the guys have, and they develop it with playing Among Us or playing Hearts or playing, stupid little games they do in the dorms and video games. And I think a few of them had PlayStation or Xbox, and they're all playing FIFA soccer, and there's tournaments going on. So all those things are really important to the success of a team.
And then to go back to another point that you were mentioning about a previous world's experience, just again, maybe for any aspiring coaches or coaches at different point in their journeys, how do you know when the right point is to listen to your captain in a moment like you're talking about with Taylor, or go with your gut? And how do you have to learn that through trial and error? What is that whole process like? And does that inform you for future decisions?
It absolutely informs you for future decisions. And truthfully, I should have been the adult and said, "Hey, Taylor, we're going to go this. Trust me." And this, but I didn't know either, you know. So I do think you have to go through some of these trial and error, you know, and that's what I think that's how we all get shaped as a coach, right? Is through our experiences. And I told the staff that story several times, and I still regret not doing trusting my gut, because I think I knew better then. But it didn't cost us the tournament. It probably didn't. I mean, but I don't know. I think it did. So I learned from it. And this year, I kept our guys fresh, and I said, "Hey, I'm not going to burn out our starters. I'm going to trust the bench guys," and our whole team bought into it. And this year, Worlds, it wasn't easy, but I trusted those guys through that whole. We went 5 with the team that we probably could have beaten 3, but that moment of beating Egypt, they had 2 really good pins, and I just trusted Riggs and Seba and Trent, whoever our middles were at the time, and I just trusted those guys that I knew we were going to get the job done. And they felt that trust from us and the staff, and we got excited like we were playing the gold medal match. And it was really, really, really powerful for our team. And those experiences are like that moment in Brazil against Russia told me that I'm going to trust my gut. I'm going to trust our guys. And as hard as it was maybe for the public to understand, they haven't been in that situation before. So it turned out being a good move.
I would say so, definitely. As you mentioned, the first U21 team to medal at Worlds, men or women. So again, congratulations. It was an amazing thing to see. And yeah, we're looking forward to having that squad back again, going for it again next year. So John, with the time that we have remaining, I would like to refocus on you and your volleyball journey and kind of close things off with getting our fans to know a little bit more about you. And we'll start with the question that we ask all of our guests on the USA Volleyball Show, which was, how were you first introduced to the game of volleyball?
It was my 4th grade year. I got sent to a private school, and funny, Matt Furbringer went there, and that's where I think I first met him. And our teachers all played volleyball. This is a crazy thing. Our PE teachers. So our PE classes at the time were just volleyball. We didn't learn any other sport but volleyball. So I'm out there, we're passing, we're doing all kinds of things. We learned to rotate in 4th grade on a tennis court. And we could play with a pass, the ball could bounce, and then you'd set it, and the ball would bounce, and you could hit it. And so with all these bounces, but they taught us how to rotate properly, how to switch the block. We learned all the fundamentals, passing, setting, serving, the whole thing. And so I just developed my love for it. But I also played soccer and football and baseball a little bit. I didn't play a ton of baseball, but I just played multiple sports. So volleyball to me was just like this fun thing. And I played some Balboa Bay leagues and stuff, it was guys in college, and there was this incredible league. And anybody that knows of the Bay League at the time, it was the best thing going in the summers. And went to camps and did a bunch of stuff. But yeah, my first time touching the ball was 4th grade. And that's fun.
Those 4th grade PE classes, you never know what's going to happen with those.
Yeah.
And then from 4th grade to the start of your coaching career, how did you get into coaching?
It was my senior year of high school, and the late, great Dave Mose, who the Orange County tournament's named after, Dave Mose Invitational, he was my high school assistant coach. And I went up to get something at the end of the banquet, and he looked at me, he goes, "Hey, you want to coach next year?" And I just thought he was kidding, So we just walk off, and later I talked to him. I'm like, So I'd played a few sports and I was trying to get time just to get reps. So during girls practices, I would just go get reps so that I could touch a ball and do that before, soccer season and all that stuff. And I fell in love with it. And one time I think the coach didn't show up to a freshman girls practice, and I ran the practice and I just started helping coach, and that was my first time coaching. And then I started coaching club. I moved to San Diego and coached at Seaside and with Mark Prescio, and he and we won a medal my first year coaching club. And then it seemed like just every year I just had these fantastic players, and great players help make great coaches, right? So I just feel like for me, I've had so many great teams and players, and I've just learned so much from all them. And Balboa Bay, I went and coached back there again and did all that and had a lot of success with those groups. And then my first college job, it was John Speraw got the job from here as an assistant, got the head job at UC Irvine. And I remember he called me up and he says, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he thought I was a teacher. And I worked for a medical company. We made automatic defibrillators. And he goes, "Hey, I want to talk to you about your guys on Balboa." And I'm like, "Yeah." And we were good. We were a really good team. So I went in there and I just started talking about, "Hey, here's who I have." And, he's like, "What do you think about this guy? He's on a different team." And I go, "Nope, you don't want him." "Yeah, you want that guy. This is the guy." And I started just naming all these players around the country. And he goes, "Do you want a job?" And so it was maybe 10 minutes in the conversation. And he goes, I said, "Shoot, let me talk to my boss." So I got off of work at 1:30. So I started 5. I went from 5 a.m. to 1:30. I left that job. I coached Irvine from 2:30 until, 5, I guess. And then I would go right to Balboa, and I'd coach from 6 to 10, Balboa. And I think coaches now, don't realize, how hard you have to work and grind to get where you want to get. And, I grinded hard. And my first marriage was probably it cost me that one because I was just gone all the time. And I think now I preach you got to have some balance in life. And those coaches that know me very well, I say that a lot. And I think having that family time is really important, and it helps you become a better coach. And when I became a father, it made me a better coach just because I'm more patient and I have girls. And I'm just so blessed to have a wife that's unbelievably patient and runs the house. And this summer I was gone for 40 days and she ran it. It was, I can't do it without her.
Any other, you've named several high-profile names, but any other coaching mentors throughout your journey?
Well, tons. Rick McLaughlin, Alan Knipe. I mentioned Dave Mose, Fred Featherstone down in San Diego. John Speraw, obviously. But Brad Keller and Spencer McLaughlin and Matt Worley and guys, these are and then David Hunt and Donan Cruz and Matt Pollock, all these coaches I've coached with, I spent a lot of time listening to them and watching them, and they probably don't even know that I'm doing that, but I'm just super fortunate to have been surrounded by so many great coaches, and then Dan Glenn and Mike D'Alessandro and Rocky Sorelli and I've coached with all those guys, and to me, it's whether it's a 2-week deal or it's a year long or it's multi-years with college. I just thought of Eddie Rapp, another one that they're all super valuable to my career. And I just want to maybe thank you guys for what you did for me.
I want to, second to last question for you here is just, several high-profile stops along the way. Just want to ask you one about your stop at Loyola Chicago and just what you learned there, your time there, and obviously how that propelled you to where you are now.
Well, I certainly don't have this job without taking that job at Loyola and getting that head coaching experience. You know, I ran a lot of USA teams and I've done that stuff, but to get the head coach title on a college resume, I think that was important. And I mean, coaching with Ali'i and Lindsay was just a highlight. I mean, you don't have a ton of pressure like you do at maybe here at UCLA. But the pressure there is to win. You want to win titles. It's just different. So you're getting more of a blue-collar kid that those kids thanked me after every practice, and they worked super hard, and they were just, again, I've used the word humble. They were humble and hungry for knowledge and information and more video. And just there were so many things that we did that I thought was fun, and I miss those guys to this day. And to watch them get to the Final Four last year, the final tournament, I was so proud of them. And it was one group that I did not want to play. I'll tell you that right there. They gave Pepperdine a run, and it was yeah. So my time at Loyola, I had really good administrators there, and a lot of really good people, and the coaches in the athletic department were just super tight, and we talked daily. We leaned on each other. So there was a really familiar, you know what I'm saying, familial environment. I think that was, just something that I like there, and I want to take that here. And I think there's a lot of really good coaches here, and I think we all need to learn each other.
John, I want to close with a question that I feel like you are more suited than most to talk about. And it's a broad, open-ended one, but I would love to get your overall thoughts on the state of men's volleyball. Obviously, you can lean into the men's side of things there in the collegiate space, or you can talk about, your experience with, players coming up through the NTDP system. Wherever you would like to go with that, would love your perspective on the state of men's volleyball.
Okay. Here's where I'm going to go with it. I think the kids nowadays, because of YouTube and Volley World TV and all these other things that are going on, they have so much more access to the game than we did. And the level of volleyball is so much higher at a younger level now. So the volleyball IQs there, I think where we are with men's volleyball, we need more Division I teams. We need more teams in the tournament, which we're going to get this year finally. But we need to be on TV. We need more eyes. Like there's a ton of women, a ton of fans watching the women's game. Watch the men's game. It's so good and it's great. And I think the narrative has always been that we miss too many serves. Okay, that can't be the narrative. It's like, okay, if you're not serving tough, you're going to lose that point, right? So we have to think of the game a little bit differently. And give the guy, like, this men's game is a really special game, and you're watching a lot of the really successful women's teams running faster offenses like the men's, and they're blocking more like the men. They're running bicks out of the backcourt. Like they're taking that from the men's side of the game, and so I think when you start seeing what our guys are doing, we're running out of the bick and we're setting the gap in transition, just things that haven't been done, we're doing because we have just these unreal athletes playing the game. And so I think I'd like to see, there's a lot of things that we need to do better. I think the transfer portal and the NIL and all that stuff there's some good and there's some bad. Like, I don't know. I think that men's volleyball has always been really good because we haven't had full scholarships. Our guys feel like they have to earn their spot, and they do it because they love the game, not because they're getting a full scholarship or whatever the case is. So I think there's some purity to it that's still there. I hope we can hang on to that. And I think there's a lot of really good coaches in the men's game. And so fans, if you're out there watching on the women's side, please watch the men's, come support us. Let's help us get us on TV and grow this thing.
I don't think there's anything better to say than that. I mean, what a way to end it. And we didn't even get to ask you about the expanded playoffs, but don't worry, because we're going to be talking to Coach Hawks all throughout the season. We're going to be just so excited to cover this upcoming season of men's college volleyball. John, thank you so much for taking some time to sit down with us and chat here on the USA Volleyball Show. That's going to do it for us for this episode, but thank you so much for watching, for listening. Again, the Men's College Roundup is coming, so stay tuned to usavolleyball.org. Follow us on all of the social media platforms that you already know at this point. And we will see John and UCLA and all of the men's college volleyball that we are so excited to see coming up shortly. Like I said, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for watching, for listening to the USA Volleyball Show, the official podcast of USA Volleyball.
This has been the USA Volleyball Show with Steven Munson and Sevrin Lavenstein. Produced by Curtis Ward. Our content producer is Laura Fawcett. Our marketing lead is Bree Jaycox. If you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to rate, review, and share with your friends. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the USA Volleyball Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to or watch your podcasts.